So today we're going to be continuing to look at the alternative future of the world. Now, if you haven't seen part 1 in this series, I highly suggest you go watch it because it is a fairly good video. And then of course you wouldn't know what's really happening here if you didn't watch the first video. But yeah, we're going to be continuing our alternative future series. And so far it's been so good. Now I know I said that I was a little bit wary about if the series would do good enough to continue doing. And so far it's doing very well. So I think we can probably pull off the series and continue to do it. But once again, that is completely reliant on you guys. So if you do end up enjoying the series, make sure to leave a like on the videos and subscribe to the channel if you're new. But subscribing gets us to 100,000 subscribers, which is our next big milestone. We hit 50k recently and now we're aiming for 100,000 subscribers. So showing support will really help us get there. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump right into this scenario. So when we left off last time, we had Russia expanding into Eastern Europe. We also had a large alliance forming up over here in the Pacific, and we had the US annexing Cuba. Taking a quick look at alliances, this is what our alliance map looks like. So we have NATO, we have a new combination alliance between the United States, Canada, the UK, Australia, and New Zealand, and we have PDO, which is the Pacific Defense Organization. So all in all, a lot of alliances are starting to show up in the world. But on the topic of alliances, I do want to show you guys a map that I recently received from a member of my Discord server, which is this map. Now I'm not 100% sure if it's correct. You guys can correct me in the comments, but I do believe him. I know the Rio Pact exists, and I know I did mention that I wouldn't really go into detail of all the major attack one, attack all alliances, but I think this map will definitely help us out. So we could see the Rio Pact in South America. I knew about this one's existence and I was debating if I should incorporate it or not, but we are going to be doing that now. Another one would be the major non-NATO allies of the United States. There's a lot of these and we can see them all across the world. The only one that isn't anymore would be Afghanistan and possibly Pakistan. There's the axis of resistance, which I didn't even know existed, which is between Iran, Syria, and Lebanon. And then the Peninsula Shield Force. This was used during the Gulf War. I knew about this one's existence, but once again, I wasn't sure if I should incorporate it or not. But yeah, we're going to be using this to kind of incorporate more alliances into our scenario. If you want to join the Discord server, there's a link to it in the description. And yeah, we now have a more filled in alliance map. But anyway, starting off this video, we're going to be starting off in the Middle East. And it is here that we see Turkey declare war on Syria. Now, why would Turkey do this? Because, you know, Syria is a complete mess right now. There's multiple rebel groups and there's a lot of foreign powers playing in with it. And that's the exact reason Turkey's doing this. So Turkey declares war on Syria and starts their invasion into the country. So Turkey declares war on Syria and starts an invasion into the country. Turkish troops quickly move into the northern part and then push down the coast, cutting Syria off from the Mediterranean Sea. But eventually Syria invokes the axis of resistance, which is one of the alliances that I had mentioned. So Lebanon and Iran are in that. Now Turkey was aware of this, and Turkey alone is probably a little bit stronger than Iran, so they will be able to hold them off. However, Iran is, you know, it's not too far off from Turkey. So Turkey will have to be distracted with invading and occupying Syria and Lebanon, but then at the same time, they're going to be distracted with Iran pushing into their eastern half. Luckily for Turkey though, they do have one ally, which is Azerbaijan, who comes to the aid of Turkey. And from here, Turkey continues to push into Syria. And then I'll push down into Lebanon and occupy the country, as well as starting a full-on campaign into the northern half of the country. In the east, Iranian troops cross the border and enter into Turkey while taking the exclave of Azerbaijan. And we have a small amount of Azerbaijani troops entering into northern Iran. Now the problem with this area in particular is that it's very mountain, so yeah, mountain. Iran would have a hard time pushing into Turkey, and Azerbaijan would have a hard time pushing into Iran, and vice versa. So Turkey wouldn't be able to really push into Iran, and Iran really wouldn't be able to push into Azerbaijan. So we're just going to kind of ignore geography. I've done this before, both intentionally and unintentionally, but in this particular scenario, we're not going to get anywhere. I might kind of incorporate it a little bit, but for the main part, we're going to be having some tanks rolling through some mountains. So Turkey ramps up its invasion of Syria in order to start to hold off Iran on their eastern half, while we have Iran laughing and continuing to push into Turkey. Iranian troops managed to push back the Azerbaijanis a little bit in the north, while starting their own invasion into the southern half of Azerbaijan. Turkish troops in Lebanon now push out and capture the capital of Syria, which really doesn't do much for them because Syria is already broken apart. But eventually the Syrian armies are pushed back and eventually are occupied. Now there's a lot of guerrilla warfare going on here because there's already a lot of guerrilla warfare happening, and it's just a complete mess to occupy. But Turkey does manage to pull it off, and now they are sending troops up north to hold back the Iranians, who continue to push into their country. Back near Azerbaijan, we have the Azerbaijanis getting completely kicked out of Iran, and Iranian troops now pushing across the border. We now have Turkish troops and Iranian troops fighting in mass along the border, and now we have the Turkish troops kind of pushing back the Iranians. They do a huge offensive in the north, which wipes out all the Iranian armies in the area, and from here they start their invasion of northern Iran. They push over into the exclave of Azerbaijan, which is successfully captured, and Armenia is very scared right now. Also, based on this war, the world is getting some very large Ottoman versus Safavid vibes. But back in Turkey, we have them completely kicking out the Iranians, except for a small half down here in southern Turkey. While up north, they have great success in pushing back the Iranians and now start to push over towards Azerbaijan. They come in from behind the Iranian armies, and eventually the armies over here in the west are knocked out, which allows for Turkey to supply Azerbaijan with troops and equipment. Finally, the Iranians are kicked out of Turkey, and from here the Turks start to push into Iran en masse. With the help of Turkey, we have Azerbaijan kicking out the Iranians as well, and we are eventually left with a front line looks like this. Now at this point, Iran and Turkey both understand that this war is going nowhere, as more Iranian troops are now headed for the front lines, but at the same time we have Turkey sending more troops over, so it will just end up being a giant stalemate. Both sides meet in Syria and decide to draw up a peace treaty, and let's go ahead and take a look at that said peace treaty. Alright, looking at this peace treaty, we have Turkey completely annexing all of Syria and Lebanon. Now I was debating this, and I was really thinking about realistically Turkey wouldn't really be able to hold on to all of Syria and Lebanon just because of all the rebellious groups and stuff, but then I drew up a peace treaty that looked like looked like crap, and also Syria wouldn't be able to last on its own since it lost so much land to Turkey. So I just opted to give them all of Syria and Lebanon. You may disagree with me, that's fine. Over in the Caucasus, we have Azerbaijan connecting with its exclave, and this looks very round. I really don't like that. And we also have Turkey getting on border with Azerbaijan, so Iran ceded a little bit of land up here over to Turkey. All in all though, Iran really didn't lose that much land. But what they did lose was 2 allies, and Syria and Lebanon have been annexed by Turkey, which isn't really good for Iran, which means they're on their own now. But what does Iran do about their lack of alliance? Well, they form a new one, and they decide to form it with Iraq and Yemen's a complete mess right now, so they take their favorite side and they say, hey, you're in an alliance now. But now with this happening, tensions between the axis of resistance and the Gulf Shield are at an all-time high. Jordan is just watching, but they are kind of guaranteed by the US, so they're just, they're chilling. Same with Israel. Palestine's scared. But with this, we have the Middle East becoming a lot more Middle Eastern, and tensions are very high. Let's go ahead and take a look elsewhere in the world. And this time we're looking in Northern Africa, where we actually have Algeria doing something. They decided to declare war on Morocco due to tensions and a lot of disagreements in politics. And this is not good for Algeria. You might be asking why. Well, Morocco is a major non-NATO US ally, and also France doesn't like this, so immediately America gets involved, but we also have France getting involved. Now ally wise, Algeria has Libya. They also kind of have Niger and Mali, but they aren't strong enough to really aid them in the war. Also, I'm just now realizing how similar Mali and Niger look. Anyway, they have Libya on their side now. That's cool. But Tunisia is also a non-NATO major US ally, but they also hold some sort of relation with Algeria, so they decide to opt out of the war. Also, this could technically chain into another Middle Eastern war since Algeria is backed by Iran. That could lead into something, but I'm not going to do that because we're just going to be having 3v2 here. Looking at support countries here, which is something I really don't do often anymore, but I think it's still probably interesting to look at. We have Algeria and Libya being backed by the pink countries, so Russia, Belarus, Ukraine, Iran, and then we have Morocco being backed by Italy, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia. So back to Africa, we have Algerian troops crossing over and entering into northern Morocco, while the blue team starts to scramble and mobilize. Algerian troops then push out from southern Algeria and start to head towards the coast, which they eventually link up with. Algerian troops then start another campaign, which is in central-ish Morocco. This eventually links up with the northern campaign, and one giant front line is created. Now Morocco does have mountains right here, and they're going to use those to their advantage. Algerian troops push out from Algeria and eventually bump up against those mountains and are unable to push further. At this point, Morocco is fully mobilized and is now heading over towards the border with Algeria. They manage to have a little bit of success in the north and push back Algeria, while the same happens in the south and they kick Algeria away from the coast. French troops finally arrive in Morocco while the French Navy blockades all of Algeria, while the US Army and Navy is on its way. It's also worth mentioning that at this point Israel is backing Morocco as well, because Morocco and Israel do hold relations, and they are one of the few Muslim countries to actually hold relations with Israel, apart from Egypt and Jordan. But yeah, that kind of stirs up tensions in the Middle East even further. Moroccan troops, with the help of French troops, now push back Algeria en masse in the north, while finally starting a campaign into Algeria itself. This is seen as a pretty bold move, as Morocco isn't fully liberated yet, but they start the invasion nonetheless. In southern Morocco, we have US troops arriving and pushing back the Algerians, and from here Moroccan and US troops start a campaign up into this area of Morocco, pushing back the Algerian troops. So France is mainly helping in the north, while the US is mainly helping in the south, but eventually they will all unite into one big battalion. Also, unfortunately for Algeria, and I say this in pretty much every video that Algeria is mentioned in, they have land up here, desert. They really don't have any mountains except for maybe right here, But other than that, they're a relatively flat country. At this point, the US Navy also arrives in the Mediterranean, and together we have the French and American Navy carrying out a joint operation which is landing in northern Algeria. From here, they establish a broad front line and connect up with Tunisia, who gives military access to the United States. Eventually, these two front lines start to pull out towards each other. Their meeting point is Algiers. Eventually, both sides meet the city, and we have a lot of fighting ensuing. Now, this might not be the approximate location of the city, but just for the sake of this scenario, we're going to say it's right there. I know I like to bend reality a lot, but that's fun. That's part of the entertaining aspect of it. Back over in Morocco, we have Algerian troops being finally pushed out of the mountain ranges of the country, but they are having trouble pushing back all of the troops as they are ordered to hold their lines, and a pretty solid defense is set up. In Libya, we have another naval landing taking place, which is once again a joint operation between France and the United States. And this time, they land really close to Tripoli, which is the capital of Libya. Troops within Tunisia finally push out, and once again, America has access to Tunisia because they are allies, and Tripoli is captured. Back over in Algeria, we also have their capital being captured, and from here the armies start to sink into the Tunisian territory. The same thing happens over in Libya, with troops now pushing down into the broader Libyan territory, but with a main focus of capturing the coast, as this is where all of their major cities are. Troops in Morocco are ordered to retreat and defend mainland Algeria, which isn't really a good call, because the Moroccan troops are now chasing them back into their country. In Libya, we have another crisis where the country starts to collapse, and after all of their coast is captured, we have Libya surrendering. Troops in Tunisia now push out into Algeria, and Algeria really just says, wow, okay then. The military starts to lose all morale as the blue team comes crushing in, and eventually Algeria surrenders. So that was an interesting war, and you know, this is probably like one of the first times, well, definitely not the first time, but one of the few times where a major power has come in and aided a country without it turning into a world war. So let's go ahead and take a look at this peace treaty. All right, peace treaty. So not a lot on the surface here. We just have Morocco getting some land out of Algeria, but in like reality, yeah, that's not very good for these countries. So Algeria is currently occupied by France, while Libya is being occupied by the United States. And yeah, so we do have new governments in these two countries. The one that is installed in Algeria is relatively stable and actually is pretty good, while the one that is installed in Libya ain't doing too hot. How ironic. So yeah, not much on the surface, but when you take a look into alliances, you can really see the damage that was done. Another thing this war brought was a new alliance between the United States, France, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, and Libya, which is just named the Mediterranean Defensive Pact. So now let's go ahead and take a look elsewhere in the world, which is actually a situation also developing in Africa. See, Lesotho here isn't very happy with their existence. So South Africa decides to change that by annexing them. You see, you thought I was going to make them invade them, but no, we actually have Eswatini getting that treatment. And this is a pretty quick war because Eswatini is pretty small, but they end up falling over to South Africa. In this peace treaty, well, you already guessed it, Eswatini is the next. This really sets off tensions in Southern Africa, with some countries deciding that this isn't very good. But no one does anything yet, but up north we do have something interesting happening with this particular area, which is the formation of the East African Federation Alliance. Now, these guys haven't united yet, but they have united under one alliance, which is once again an attack one, attack all alliance. And this is basically just for security, as some of these countries aren't really the strongest, and they'd most likely just feel safer with each other's back. So now let's take a look at a war. Yeah, that's not good. That's really not good. So China has now attacked Taiwan, and this leads into a major war in the Pacific, mostly because Taiwan is part of an alliance, which is including the United States and Australia, but also because China blows up a few US Navy ships in the Strait, and the United States decides to activate multiple alliances. Now you see, that's really not ideal. So China has just you know, they see how many countries they're at war with, and well, their pants are not okay. And on top of that, countries like Russia are not in support of China in this war, since they deliberately blew up a US Navy boat. So they lost that ally, but you know, they have Myanmar, North Korea. Yeah, North Korea, they join. Does Iran want to join? No, they really don't want to. What about Southeast Asia? No. You guys good? No? Okay. Just China then? Yeah, just China then. So, well, good job, China. I really don't know what they were expecting here, but this is what happens when you include every alliance in the world. This is what happens. You see why I don't include these in my main videos now? Not saying this isn't a main video. This is an official series, by the way. But if I included all of these alliances, then it would be the same video over and over again. But yeah, this really isn't pretty. Just to add pain to the burn, we also have some other US allies joining in, such as Israel and Saudi Arabia. Pakistan nopes its way out of this one because, once again, just the sheer amount of countries. And yeah, nobody really dares to join. So what does China actually do in this scenario? Well, they start to do full conscription and mobilize their navy for homeland defense, but they don't dare put anything around North Korea because that's not going to last very long. They quickly push out and capture the waters around Taiwan, which is a big uh-oh to the island, but honestly, once again, just the sheer amount of countries. There's also already lots of military bases on Taiwan, like Japanese, South Korean, Philippine, and Australian bases. It's just simply because they're part of the PDO, which is the Pacific Defense Organization. And yeah, China does manage to make a landing though. But with this landing, they really don't get much progress done as they are just fighting a lot of troops. In the north, we have North Korean troops and Chinese troops pushing into South Korea, but this doesn't really go anywhere. And now everyone's arriving to the scene. Yeah, that's not good. Boom, bop, bam, boom, bop, bam, bam. Boom, bop, pow. Yeah, that didn't go well. Pretty fair to say that it didn't really go well at all. And now China is being attacked through its mainland. So what does China do? Oh, that's pretty smart. And North Korea is left on its own, yeah, ouch. They did fire their nukes though. Those, the majority of them landed in the ocean. One of them hit a Japanese island. So that's not going to be good for the leaders. Oh, what's that? They were killed in the drone strike? Oh, that's not good. So yeah, let's look at this peace treaty. All right, so North Korea does not exist anymore. Taiwan is recognized as an independent country. This island is a lot more American. And China is, well, their economy, you know how it was pretty nice? Well, it doesn't exist anymore. Lots and lots of reparations are to be paid to literally everybody who joined the war. And it's really not pretty. So China is now going through an economic downfall, and a lot of groups within China are having a lot of unrest. But we'll see what happens there in the next episode of Alternative Future of the World. So yeah, a lot of things have happened in this episode, such as the Middle Eastern war between Turkey and Iran, a war between Morocco and Algeria, a whole bunch of alliance expansion, and finally China versus Taiwan, which really wasn't pretty for China and North Korea at all. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Really helps us out and lets me know that the series should be continued. Like I said before, if you guys don't show support in these videos, because tendency wise series videos don't do as well as normal videos, so showing support on this video and all of the series really helps the series continue, and it lets me know that you guys are enjoying the series. So leave a like on it, subscribe, leave a comment, share it. All those things really help show that you guys are watching this. And I'm not just doing this because analytics. This just lets me know that you guys are enjoying it. And once again, thank you guys for watching. Join the Discord server in the description if you want, and I'll see you guys in the next video.